You're watching The Daily Climate Show. Coming up, the Chancellor announces a 25% tax on oil and gas profits. But what does this mean for investment in green energy? Scotland plans to ban sales of the most damaging single-use plastic items. And as monkeypox cases rise, a warning there could be more diseases spreading from animals to humans without major steps to protect wildlife and their natural habitats. Hello and welcome to The Daily Climate Show, where we track the changes happening to our planet, hear from the leaders tasked with solving the problems and explore solutions. Now, millions of people will welcome the Chancellor's announcement of a windfall tax on the profits of oil and gas companies and plans to use this levy to help counter the rising cost of living. But some analysts are worried that Rishi Sunak's plans will damage the investment needed to build better energy security and the UK's net zero ambitions. So let's hear what the Chancellor had to say.
Companies will have a new and significant incentive to reinvest their profits. The new levy will be charged on profits of oil and gas companies at a rate of 25%. It will be temporary, and when oil and gas prices return to historically more normal levels, the levy will be phased out with a sunset clause written into the legislation. And crucially, with our new investment allowance, we are nearly doubling the overall investment relief for oil and gas companies. That means for every pound a company invests, they'll get back 90% in tax relief. Yeah. So the more a company invests, the less tax they will pay.
Well, our climate change correspondent Hannah Thomas-Peter joins us now from Westminster. So, Hannah, what impact will this new step have on the fight against climate change?
I think amongst climate change campaigners and various think tanks, there's broad satisfaction that unearned, unexpected profits of the oil and gas industry are now being subject to this windfall tax. There is also some consternation that if you look closely at the detail, actually what the Chancellor is doing here is addressing a cost of living crisis rather than the climate crisis directly, because the policy contains real incentives to invest in UK extraction, not renewables. And in their view, for campaigners, this rather misses an opportunity to kickstart or accelerate even more investment in the green energy transition, and also perhaps even misses opportunities to invest in things like an insulation programme. And so there's real worry about that this was a missed opportunity. There was also separate consternation about the Chancellor mentioning that he was considering appropriate steps to further tax other electricity generators who are enjoying massive profits. And that includes, of course, not just the nuclear industry, but wind and solar too.
And meanwhile, what are the oil and gas companies saying about it?
Well, they are predictably unhappy. Shell has just released a statement saying, we have consistently emphasised the importance of a stable environment for long-term investment, and then has gone on to outline plans to invest in a low-carbon future and its plans to be a part of the energy transition. The not very subtle inference there being, if you take money away from us, all of that is less assured. But the industry lobby group, the Offshore Energies UK lobby group, has gone much further, calling the windfall tax a disappointing and worrying development for a sector that supports 200,000 UK jobs, calling it a backward step that makes the UK seem like an unpredictable place to do business. But the bit that they've been really pointed about is saying that there is going to be a real impact on oil and gas companies' plans for investing in clean energy, mainly wind and a little bit of solar. And the Offshore Energies UK group saying that it's actually fundamentally going to make it much, much harder for the UK to hit its net zero targets as a result.
Hannah, thanks very much indeed. Let's take a look now at some of the day's other climate news. And the sale of plastic straws, cutlery, polystyrene cups and food boxes will be banned in Scotland from the 1st of June. The ban is part of measures to clamp down on the most environmentally damaging single-use plastic items while reducing waste and pollution. The ban also covers all single-use polystyrene food containers and their lids, as well as plastic stirrers, balloon sticks, plates and coffee stirrers. Work has begun to turn 99,000 hectares of land in England into nature recovery projects. There are a total of 5 projects across the Peak District, the West Midlands, Cambridgeshire, Norfolk and Somerset, and all aim to help tackle wildlife loss and improve access to nature. The projects will share £2.4 million in funding from DEFRA and Natural England as part of the government's target to halt the decline in species abundance by 2030 and protect 30% of English land by 2030. A committee of MPs is warning that emissions must be reduced in the construction of buildings if the UK is to meet its net zero ambitions. Their report states that 25% of the country's total greenhouse gas emissions can be attributed to the built environment. But there is little government guidance on how to reduce emissions from the manufacture of materials through to construction, maintenance of buildings and eventual demolition. Now, the number of monkeypox infections around the world is continuing to rise. Both Wales and Northern Ireland have confirmed their first cases today. And experts are warning we could see more zoonotic diseases, those transmitted from animals to humans, without better regulation of the wildlife trade and better care of natural habitats. Now, more than 250 cases of the virus have been confirmed globally in the last 3 weeks. The UK has recorded the largest number with 79 cases, while Spain has confirmed 59 and Portugal 39 cases. Well, joining us now to discuss this is Dr. Nigel Sizer, who's the Executive Director of the research group Preventing Pandemics at Source. And tell us a little bit more about zoonotic diseases, these that transfer from animals to humans. Are they on the rise, first of all?
Yes, if you look over the last 50 years, we've seen a highly significant increase in the number of new diseases moving from wildlife into humans. Diseases like SARS, Nipah, Ebola, Zika, COVID-19 is one of these most likely, and monkeypox, which was first detected about 40 years ago. About 300 new diseases have been found in humans in recent decades.
So why is that happening? What's the main driver of this rise and this kind of transmission?
So about 60% of these new diseases come from wildlife. They're what we call zoonotic diseases. And this is following from ever-increasing intensification of agriculture, clearing of forests, especially in the tropical regions, increasing commercial exploitation of wildlife, more and more people impinging on the natural world, towns and cities in tropical forest areas, the use of wildlife, the exotic animal trade, and intensification of animal agriculture, farming of cattle, pigs, and poultry has also contributed to this risk.
So how do we go about stopping it?
Well, the key thing is to greatly increase efforts to protect tropical forests, to regulate, strictly enforce, close down some of the wildlife trade and commercial use of wildlife, including things like some of the exotic pet trade coming into Europe and the United States, as well as what people might have seen more in the news, which is the live animal markets in places like China, parts of Africa and Latin America, and so on. All these things contribute to risk. And another really key area is doing a much better job to address how we treat and take care of livestock, pigs and poultry in particular.
And very briefly, you mentioned COVID there. Has that helped focus minds? Do you think that could help prompt change, the fact that the world has suffered this pandemic?
Well, we've been working intensively on this throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And I have to say, we're actually very disappointed to see that most governments are not giving much more attention to the actual origins of these diseases. I mean, the good news is that the things we need to do to address climate change are also some of the things that would reduce the risk of future pandemics, like better protecting tropical forests, other things as well, like taking better care of wildlife, addressing risks in the live animal trade, and improving the regulation and controls around intensification of animal agriculture. These are all things that we should be doing anyway, and COVID-19 and now monkeypox to some extent as well remind us that much more effort is needed in these areas.
Dr. Nigel Sizer, very interesting to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. See you next time.